The mucusless diet healing system is not propaganda, like vegetarianism or the raw food movement. It is a clinical therapy of eating that has to be studied and intelligently advised and prescribed personally, the same as is being done by all other methods of drugless healing and therapeutics. This diet heals every disease if it is possible to be healed at all, because all disease-producing foods are finally eliminated from the diet menus, and the new ones loosen, stir up, remove, and eliminate, clean, heal, and cure the body. You build up a new, and for the first time in your life, a perfect natural blood composition, such as the one defined in Lesson 8. This new blood removes and eliminates finally and unfailingly every disease matter, even though your doctor failed to locate exactly where it was. The function of healing, the operation without the knife, the cleansing, eliminating process begins almost immediately and must of necessity be conducted, controlled, and supervised for weeks and even months to secure proper results. The knowledge contained in these lessons is sufficient to enable the student to properly supervise their own individual case. The menus, combinations, mixtures, and recipes are therapeutic adjustments to enforce the self-healing of the body, called disease, and not to suppress or to stop it as done with drugs. The average patient expects the right diet to help him at once, therefore the great desire for curative menus and mixtures. Even most of the advanced doctors imagine that a few menus and combinations from one day to the other is all the knowledge necessary. As yet, they don't know the truth that you have learned in the previous lessons, that physiology and pathology are fundamentally wrong, that all present-day ideas about food and nourishment are entirely wrong and diametrically opposite to the truth. Therefore, they do not have the slightest idea what happens and what must happen in the human system if, for the first time in the patient's life, the decades-old waste and poisons are stirred up and have to be eliminated through the circulation. You must realize and perceive that you are starting on an entirely new and perfect revolution, regeneration, and rejuvenation of your body when you change your diet in this way. And it cannot be accomplished within a few days by simply eating some good menus and mixtures. Mucus lean recipes. If a little starchy food is eaten after a meal, it can be called a mucus lean diet. But these starchy foods can be made less harmful by destroying or neutralizing, more or less, the sticky properties of the pasty starch. The more the potato is baked, the better. Toast well done is best. Raw cereal should be roasted first, whenever desired, and will be found to work as a good intestinal broom, although they contain stimulants. Rice is a great mucus former because it makes the best paste, but it can be improved by soaking overnight in water. You will notice that the water becomes very sticky and slimy and of an awful odor. Pour off the water from the rice and either fry or bake it a little. A mucus lean bread recipe. Mix a rough bran flour or whole wheat flour with raw grated carrots half and half. Add only as much white flour as necessary to keep the dough. Add somewhat grated apples and a handful of grated nuts, also if desired, some raisins. Bake very slowly and well. This is best eaten when 2 or 3 days old, or well toasted. Lesson 16, Footnotes. Number 1. Ehret points out here that eating too many nuts will eventually create uric acid in the body due to their rich fat content. This is one of several statements that clarify the nut contradiction spoken of earlier in the notes. Number 2. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of Ehret's work. He does not view nutritional values to be important. What is important is food's ability to leave the body without leaving behind a great deal of metabolic waste. From this perspective, even canned mucus-free foods would potentially be better than raw mucus-forming ones. To this day, few diet experts have been able to entirely abandon additive nutritional concepts and, as a result, fail to understand this crucial aspect of Ehret's transitional approach. Number 3. The juice of fruit such as apples or grapes may also be used as a sweetening agent. You may also dilute the drink with distilled water to form lemonade, although this will make the drink much less aggressive. Number 4. It is advisable to not use mayonnaise that contains eggs or vinegar. Today, vegetarian egg-free mayonnaise is available, although it is hard to find without vinegar. Overall, I found that using a sugar-free fresh tomato sauce during transition is a more sustainable and much cleaner condiment. Number 5. Postum is a caffeine-free powdered roasted grain beverage, often used as a coffee substitute created by Postum Cereal Company founder C.W. Post in 1895. Post was a student of John Harvey Kellogg, who believed caffeine to be unhealthy. The Postum Cereal Company eventually became General Foods, which was bought by Kraft Foods. Kraft discontinued making Postum in 2007 and sold its production rights to Eliza's Quest Food in 2013. Number 6. It is advisable to transition off of coffee as soon as possible. It is a very addictive and an acidic stimulant. The cleaner your stomach becomes, the more irritating such drinks will get. Water or freshly squeezed fruit or vegetable juice is always the best and most satisfying beverages. Once you are in the habit of juicing, and you experience the great taste of real juice, it will be hard to go back to coffee-like stimulants. Number 7. This may be used as an overall rule of thumb for the transition diet. Sustaining this menu for extended periods of time is a good short or long-term goal. Number 8. The word mucus-lean refers to the period of dietary transition in the mucusless diet when mucus-forming foods are used along with mucusless ones. Mucus-lean menus are generally less harmful than standard mucus-forming eating habits by non-practitioners, and are an important part of the overall transition and systematic healing methods employed in the mucusless diet healing system. Number 9. Today, many 100% grain breads can be bought in the store. They are usually found in the health food or organic section, often in the freezer. Always look at the ingredients and avoid loaves with unrecognizable ingredients. In general, the fewer the ingredients on the label, the better it is. Transition Diet Part 3. Lesson 17. Vegetarian Recipes Revisited. Some improved recipes of salad dressings. Condiments are much less harmful than mucus-forming foods. The so-called poisonous table salt is a very good mucus dissolver. The average mixed starch eater could not stand this diet without salt. Of course, with the perfect mucusless diet, the want and need of salt will be eliminated automatically, and with that, the unnatural thirst. French dressing. Ingredients: 1 teaspoon lemon juice, 4 tablespoons oil, 1/4 teaspoon honey, 1/4 teaspoon salt, and 1/4 teaspoon paprika. Mix 1 1/4 tablespoons of oil with the dry ingredients. Stir well. Add the honey and the lemon juice. As dressing thickens through stirring, add the rest of the oil and a little garlic for flavor if you like. Some standard mucusless cooked recipes. As I said before, you may call the coleslaw and carrot combination the standard transition salad. Now I will give you the standard cooked mixture. Serbian vegetable goulash. Stew in very little water or in olive oil or in vegetable fat. Coarsely sliced white or red cabbage and some sliced onions with some sliced sweet peppers when in season, and finish stewing with some sliced tomatoes, a little salt and a little pepper if desired. Red or white cabbage with onions baked or broiled in a little fat and tomato sauce as a gravy is an appetizing dish. The same can be done with cauliflower, carrots, Brussels sprouts, beets with the leaves, etc. The idea is to bake as dry as possible and to afford occasionally an enjoyable harmless substitute for the chops, roasts, etc., which you have discontinued. Some special suggestions concerning my cookbook. You will note that all menus and recipes are surprisingly short. If you fall back into the same gluttony-like mixtures, eating foods as described in vegetarian cookbooks, and even in raw food books, you will never be perfectly healed. The ideal menu for humans is the mono diet, consisting of one kind of fruit in season, and I must again remind you that no animal in freedom is a mixed eater at one meal. You learn that I use partly cooked food during the transition diet, and in the beginning, the vegetable prevails. This has for its purpose the slowing down of elimination, for it is well known that people can stand a stewed or baked fruit, whereas they cannot stand the same kind when fresh. Vital food is not the entire object to be gained at first, but rather their property to dissolve and to eliminate. This vital healing efficiency is most perfect in all kinds of fresh fruits, and will be found to be too aggressive for the majority of patients. This is undoubtedly the cause of the wrong ideas and reason for the fruit fast being an ill repute, and it is the same reason why I use stewed and baked fruits in the beginning to slow down the elimination. Whenever you feel bad, the cause is that you have too much dissolved mucus and probably old drugs in the circulation. Then slow down the elimination by not eating raw fruits or even cooked fruits at all, and for a few days eat cooked or raw vegetables only. Vegetables work more mechanically and dissolve less. Later on, when the roughest waste is eliminated from your body and it becomes necessary, like in all cases of a severe chronic disease, to carry the elimination by the new blood deeper and deeper into the tissue system, the diet must be restricted more and more as the healing process continues. In the following lessons, you will learn how a fruit fast must be undertaken, what scientific therapeutic fasting is, and last but not least, how the mucusless diet is properly combined with fasting if found necessary, or the principles and details of the mucusless diet healing system. Note by Fred Hirsch. Professor Ehret frequently refers to having purposely omitted recipes, in spite of repeated requests, and gave as his reason, in nature, such as exist in the animal kingdom, there are absolutely no mixtures at all. The ideal and most natural method of eating is the mono diet. One kind of fresh fruit, when in season, should constitute a meal, and you will find yourself better nourished. This condition, of course, cannot take place until you have thoroughly cleansed your body of toxemic poisons, mucus, or call it foreign substances. We feel sure that Professor Ehret would have approved and granted permission to include a few mucus-lean recipes, particularly of salads, in this edition of his mucusless diet healing system, after being convinced as we have been that the public demand requires substitutes from the present day, acknowledged method of food preparation if they are to successfully take up the Ehret method. And so, with this thought in view, and with the hopes of converting many more to the Ehret system, we present a few tested recipes, successfully used at health cafeterias, where the tasty, delicious cooked combinations prove an agreeable surprise to the skeptic. Numerous other equally tasty menus can be arranged by simply changing either the cooked vegetable or combination of raw vegetables. The ideal diet for humans is the mono diet, and mixtures are prone to lead to gluttony, so that this should be remembered when arranging the meal. Number 1. Always eat fruit first. The digestion of ripe fruits takes place within a normal stomach within a few minutes after eating. Wait 5 to 10 minutes before eating your vegetable course. Number 2. Do not drink liquids of any kind with the meal. Liquids of all kinds, including soups, interfere with proper digestion of the meal. At least 30 minutes should elapse before drinking, both before and after eating. Number 3. Humans' food is fruits and herbs. Genesis 1:29. For healing purposes, uncooked starchless green leafy vegetables, parsley, carrots, celery, lettuce, combined with fruits both in their natural and cooked state, they will find to be much better than an exclusive fruit diet. Number 4. Mix but few varieties. Fruit meals should consist of not more than 2 kinds of fruits in season. Your appetite will dictate the quantity to be eaten. Number 5. Never eat nuts with juicy fruits. When nuts are eaten with fruit such as oranges, apples, pears, etc., the water makes nuts indigestible. Dried fruits, figs, raisins, dates, prunes, can be eaten dry with nuts. Chew together and masticate thoroughly. The fruit sugar helps to digest the nuts. Number 6. Nature's own book is simplicity. The fewer food mixtures, the better. 3 different varieties should be sufficient. 4 and 5 is often too many. Number 7. Do not overeat. Mother Nature requires moderation in all things. The following menus are simply given as examples of how to combine and prepare a meal. Sample meals. Cottage cheese and applesauce mixture. Add raisins if desired. Place on bed of lettuce and serve. A 10-minute intermission between the fruit and salad courses may afford the family an opportunity of talking over the pleasant happenings of the day. And always bear in mind that laughter aids digestion. Salad natural vegetable combination salad. Baked cauliflower. Boil cauliflower until about half done, and then bake in oven until brown. Use a suitable vegetable shortening when baking in preference to butter fat. Serve either hot or cold and add dressing to suit. 2 pieces of whole wheat or grain toast. Dried fruits such as raisins, dates and figs, and walnuts or pecans. Chew together. Salad cooked combination salad served on lettuce leaves. Baked sweet potato. Fresh fruit in season such as peaches, apricots, grapes, etc. Russian salad, tomatoes, carrots, celery, watercress, onions. Whole grain toast. Carrot and raisin salad. Ehret Serbian goulash. Whole grain toast. Applesauce with raisins. Coleslaw salad. Finely slice raw cabbage. Add lemon juice to soften and allow to stand at least 1 hour before serving. Add chopped onions, celery, and cold cooked carrots or peas. Add dressing to taste. Baked sweet potato. Mashed ripe bananas with fresh strawberries and honey to sweeten. Mexican coleslaw. Baked banana squash. Cottage cheese and apricot jam. lettuce and tomato salad with ripe olives, 1 cooked vegetable such as baked squash, baked sweet potato, baked apple with honey, elimination salad, baked artichoke, whole grain toast, baked apple or applesauce, baked beet tops, whole grain toast. Salad recipes. Natural combination salad. Mix a large bowl of finely cut lettuce, 4 handfuls finely cut radishes, 4 handfuls chopped tomatoes, and 2 handfuls very finely cut parsley. Add oil and lemon juice, mix thoroughly, let stand for 15 minutes. Serve with dressing or tomato sauce if desired. May salad. Large bowl of chopped cabbage, 1 cup finely cut radishes, ½ cup finely chopped sweet green peppers, 1 1/2 cups chopped tomatoes, 1 cup finely chopped green onions, ½ cup finely chopped parsley, and 1 cup chopped cucumbers if in season. Mix thoroughly, add 2 tablespoons lemon juice, 3 tablespoons tomato sauce as a dressing. Garnish with olives or radishes for decoration. Apple and celery salad. Mix thoroughly 2 cups cubed apples to which lemon juice has been added to keep from discoloring, 1 cup chopped celery, 1/4 cup finely chopped parsley, 1 handful seedless raisins, and 2 tablespoons fresh oil dressing. Serve on crisp lettuce leaves. Cabbage salad delicious. Mix 2 cups shredded cabbage, 1 cup finely chopped green peppers, and 1 tart apple. Cut into strips about 1 inch long, salt to taste. Add 2 tablespoons lemon juice, soak for 10 minutes. Add 2 tablespoons dressing, mix thoroughly. Serve on crisp lettuce leaves, decorate with chopped pimento. Carrot and raisin salad. Soak ½ cup seedless raisins in water about 2 hours. Mix thoroughly with 2 cups coarsely shredded carrots and ½ cup finely chopped celery. Add 2 tablespoons of fresh dressing. Cooked combination salad. Mix thoroughly 1 cup diced cooked carrots, 1 cup cooked peas, 1 cup chopped cooked string beans, and ½ cup finely chopped raw celery. Add dressing or tomato sauce to taste. Serve on crisp lettuce leaves. Serbian slaw. Mix 1 cup coarsely chopped celery, 1 cup finely sliced cabbage, 1/4 cup finely chopped onions, 1/4 cup minced olives, and 1 tablespoon chopped pimento. Add oil and lemon juice. Fruit salad served in apple shells. Select good-looking apples. Cut off the tops of the apples and remove the apple meat. Chop together equal parts apple hearts, pineapple, grapefruit, and cherries. Add lemon juice, sprinkle with grated coconut. Mexican coleslaw. Mix 2 cups finely sliced red cabbage, ½ cup chopped celery, 1 cup red kidney beans, 1/4 cup chopped onions, and 1/4 cup chopped peppers. Add olive oil and lemon juice. Carrot and apple salad. Mix 1 cup chopped carrots, 1 cup cubed apples, soaked in lemon juice, ½ cup chopped celery, ½ cup finely sliced dates, and finely chopped onions to flavor. Add olive oil and lemon juice, soak for 15 minutes. Serve on crisp lettuce leaves. Summer salad. Mix 1 cup chopped watercress, ½ cup chopped tomatoes, ½ cup diced cucumbers, and ½ cup diced celery. Add olive oil and lemon juice. Mix thoroughly and serve on crisp lettuce leaves. Russian salad. Mix 2 diced ripe tomatoes, 4 medium-sized carrots, diced, ½ finely chopped onion, 2 sprigs chopped watercress, 2 stalks celery, cut in 1-inch lengths and split. Mix with dressing. Serve on bed of lettuce. Garnish with sliced tomatoes. Asparagus salad. Cook asparagus and cut into 3-inch lengths. Make a bed of finely sliced lettuce. Put asparagus on lettuce. Add dressing or tomato sauce if desired. Cauliflower and pea salad. Cook cauliflower and break into small pieces. To 2 cups cauliflower, add 1 cup cooked peas and 1 cup chopped parsley. Add tomato sauce or other dressing and serve on lettuce leaves. Asparagus and cauliflower salad. Boil asparagus and cut tips in 3-inch lengths. Boil cauliflower and break in small pieces. Mix together in equal portions. Add tomato sauce or other dressing. Serve on lettuce leaves. Brazilian salad. Mix 1 1/2 cups ripe strawberries, 1 1/2 cups cubed fresh pineapple. Add 2 blanched thinly sliced Brazil nuts. Marinate in 4 tablespoons lemon juice. Arrange lettuce on plates in a rose shape. Fill the crown with above mixture. Decorate with strawberries. Date and celery salad. Chop equal parts dates and celery. Serve on lettuce. Waldorf salad. Mix well 1 1/2 cups diced crisp tart apples. 1/2 cup lemon juice. 1 1/4 cups diced celery. Drain off lemon juice. Add strawberry sauce. Serve on crisp lettuce. Decorate with grated walnuts. Mock chicken salad. Mix 2 cups finely sliced cabbage, 1 cup celery, 2 tablespoons finely chopped onion, 1/2 cup finely chopped green peppers, and 1 cup cooked kidney beans, cold. Add 2 tablespoons tomato sauce dressing. Mix thoroughly. Serve on crisp lettuce leaves. Decorate with olives. Grated carrot and spinach salad. Add lemon juice to 1 cup chopped spinach and 1 cup coleslaw, and soak 10 minutes. Prepare salad plates with leaves of crisp lettuce, and arrange the bottom layer coleslaw, the second layer chopped spinach, and the top layer 1 cup grated carrots. Drizzle with 1 spoonful dressing and garnish with a ripe olive in the center. Elimination salad. Mix thoroughly 2 cups chopped spinach, 2 cups coleslaw, 1 cup fresh green peas, and 1 cup chopped celery. Add lemon juice and oil. Serve as desired. Watercress salad. Serve chopped watercress and 2 sliced tomatoes on a bed of lettuce. Mixed salad. Chop 1 large bowl lettuce leaves. Mix thoroughly with 2 cups chopped tomatoes, 1 cup chopped celery, 1 cup chopped onions, and 1/2 cup chopped parsley. Add lemon juice and oil. Onion salad. Mix 2 cups finely sliced cabbage, 1 cup sliced red onions, 1 cup chopped tomatoes, and 1/2 cup coarsely chopped parsley. Add 2 tablespoons oil and lemon dressing or tomato sauce and mix thoroughly. Serve on crisp lettuce leaves. Decorate with radishes. Cooked vegetable recipes. Stuffed onions. Select 6 good-sized onions. Remove a slice from the top of each onion and parboil until almost tender. Strain and remove centers to form 6 cups. Chop the cooked onion that was scooped out and combine with soft breadcrumbs or chopped pepper and tomato pulp to create onion crumbs. Add seasoning to taste. Fill the onion cups with the mixture. Place in a pan and cover with onion crumbs. Add 1/2 cup combined oil and water. Bake until tender. Spinach loaf. Wash at least 3 pounds of spinach thoroughly. Cook in its own juice until tender. Drain and chop. Chill and add 1 finely chopped onion and 3 finely cut celery stalks. Moisten with tomato sauce or other dressing. Mold and bake in pan 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 to 35 minutes. Serve hot or cold. Spinach cutlets. Wash fresh spinach and beat tops thoroughly. Cook separately in its own juices until tender. Drain and chop. Canned spinach can be used if desired. Cook 1 cup fresh medium-sized beets until tender, then dice. Braise 1 cup chopped celery, 1 large coarsely sliced onion, and 1 chopped bell pepper in cooking oil until golden brown. Place all ingredients in a chopping bowl and chop thoroughly. Mold into round patties or cutlets. Mix 1 cup coarsely chopped peanuts or walnuts and 1 cup whole wheat cracker crumbs or toasted whole wheat crumbs. Dip the patties or cutlets in the cracker crumb mixture and fry in cooking oil or olive oil. Serve either hot or cold. Sautéed sweet potatoes and carrots. Cook 2 cups diced sweet potatoes until tender. Cook 2 cups diced fresh carrots in a covered pot with as little water possible until tender, or use 1 8-ounce can of carrots drained. Combine the sweet potatoes and carrots and sauté in a frying pan using vegetable or olive oil. Season to taste. Sprinkle with finely chopped parsley before serving. Vegetarian hash. Half cup cooked lima beans. Half cup cooked peas. Half cup chopped celery. Half cup toasted bread crumbs. 2 cups boiled or baked sweet potatoes diced. Half cup diced beets cooked. 4 tablespoons cooking oil. 2 boiled onions chopped. 2 tablespoons whole wheat flour. Brown onions and flour in oil. Add 2 cups hot water. Cook until done. Add rest of ingredients and bake until brown. Lima beans and cabbage casserole. Cook 2 cups shredded cabbage and 1 pound packaged frozen lima beans, or 2 8-ounce cans drained in separate covered pots for about 12 minutes, or until tender, using as little water as possible. Alternate layers of vegetables in a baking dish, oiled with vegetable oil. Dot with vegetable margarine. Sprinkle with toasted bread crumbs and bake in moderate oven 15 to 20 minutes. Serves 6. New England boiled dinner. Cut 4 half cups sweet potatoes, 1 cup carrots, and 1 cup turnips into 3/4 inch tubes. Slice 2 cups onions. Cut 2 cups cabbage into pieces about 1 1/2 inch square. Boil sweet potatoes and onions together. Cabbage may be either cooked separately or added to carrots and turnips when they are partially cooked. When all are done, mix together and serve with 100% grain toast. Baked artichokes. Boil until done. Remove from water. Spread open a few of the outside leaves and add garlic cloves. Place in pan. Pour olive oil over it and bake in oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes. Eggplant hash. Cut an eggplant in half lengthwise. Place in oven until baked to a mushy pulp. Remove the peel. Mash. Add fried onion. Season to taste. Tomato sauce optional. Baked beet tops. Boil separately equal amounts of beet tops and spinach. Drain and chop. Braise onions. Add chopped celery. Mix all together. Put in pan. Cover with breadcrumbs and bake. Vegetable chicken a la king. Mix 2 stalks celery, sliced, 2 cups chopped bell peppers, 1/4 cup pimento, 1/2 cup green peas, and 1/2 cup cubed carrots. Add sliced onion. Make gravy out of tomato sauce. Serve on whole wheat toast or patties. Mock chicken croquettes. Make a base of braised onions, bell peppers, and celery. Add mashed baked sweet potatoes, carrots, peas, or other cooked vegetables if preferred, and toasted bread crumbs. Mold and bake in olive oil until golden brown. Vegetable chop suey. Braise coarsely chopped onions. Put in pan to sauté. Add chopped celery, bean sprouts, chopped bell peppers, water chestnuts, tomatoes to flavor. Sauté in oil until golden brown. Vegetable hamburger. Braise onions with bell peppers. Add garlic to taste. Cook together. Add toasted bread crumbs, celery, walnuts, and hominy. Mold and sauté in oiled pan. Serve with onions. Baked tomatoes. Cut and retain tops from tomatoes and scoop out pulp. Season pulp with grated onions and parsley. Stuff mixture into tomato shells and put tops back on. Cover and bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes, basting with good salad oil. Arrange on bed of watercress or lettuce, surrounded by sliced cooked beets. Use dressing as desired. Carrot nut loaf. Mix together 2 cups coarsely chopped carrots, 3 cups toasted crumbs, 1 cup chopped celery, 1 cup chopped walnuts, 1 cup mashed potatoes, and 3 cups braised sliced onions. Add 2 tablespoons of melted vegetable or soy margarine. Place in loaf pan and bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. Zucchini Italiano. Slice in about 1/2 inch thickness 2 good-sized zucchini and 1 good-sized tomato. Bake zucchini with half red onion sliced, 1 small clove of garlic if desired. and basil and oregano to taste for about 25 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Add tomatoes and cook an additional 10 minutes or until tender. New sweet potatoes and string beans. Steam sweet potatoes and peel. Cook string beans with as little water as possible. Place both in a baking pan and add chopped parsley. Pour Italian olive oil over them and warm in oven for 15 minutes. Serve. Vegetarian corned beef. Steam 1 cup each cubed carrots, coarsely chopped cabbage, sweet potatoes, and chopped celery. Fill in a baking pan with brown gravy. Add steamed vegetables. Brush lightly with vegetable margarine or olive oil, and bake 10 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Italian meatballs. Cook 2 cups whole wheat spaghetti in boiling water until tender. Meanwhile, mix 2 cups nut meatloaf, 1/2 cup onions, 1/2 cup chopped celery, 1/8 cup hot pepper, or to flavor, and Italian tomato sauce. Form into balls and fry in pan at medium temperature. Serve with spaghetti and more Italian tomato sauce. Lesson 17. Footnotes. Number 1. Today, the degree to which salt is a dissolver and eliminator of mucus inside the body is a debatable point. As you eliminate the salt from your body, the mucus that you eliminate actually becomes much less salty. Overall, it is advisable to avoid table salt from the beginning. There are many salt-free seasonings that can be found at stores, or make your own combinations. Garlic and onion granules can make a very nice seasoning. Oregano, thyme, and other herbs are also very nice to use. If salt is badly craved, sea vegetables such as kelp granules or dulse flakes make a safe alternative to iodized table, sea, or crystal salt. Number 2. Similar to Lesson 14 with the problematic Ragnar Berg table, this chapter on vegetarian menus needed minor upgrades for the 21st century reader. First, it should be noted that much of this chapter was added by the book's editor, Fred Hirsch, and not Arnold Ehret. Also, the menus in this chapter have considerably changed over the years. Items like protos, meat substitute made out of wheat gluten, that were heavily used in the 4th edition, 1924, were eliminated by the 22nd edition, 1994. My goal is not to rewrite this chapter, but to improve on the menus presented. There are about 5 or 6 that I eliminated completely, as I find the ingredients or mixtures to be unsalvageable. Essentially, I eliminate all use of eggs, such as mayonnaise with egg, etc., rice and milks. I also changed all use of white potatoes, which Ehret strongly advises against eating, to sweet potatoes, which are almost mucusless when fully baked. And I got rid of most vegetaric meat substitutes and nut loaves, but left in a couple of them for people who feel they need to use them in the beginning. Although some vegans may protest, I keep some of the cottage cheese combinations intact. Many people do not need to use such a menu, yet they can be very helpful in certain cases. It is not something that more advanced practitioners need to explore. Further, if you are transitioning properly, you will not be able to tolerate any kind of dairy for very long. What I do not want to do is deprive someone of a transitional item that they may need or be able to use to overcome a challenging dietetic obstacle. Since transitional thinking is not finite, but ever-changing, the practitioner should know that such items cannot be eaten for extended periods. Those that only want to use the diet for a short period to heal will now have some things to fall back on that are better than a standard pus and mucus-forming diet. Overall, for every bad item, there must be an item of lesser evil that is only a step away. Eating the baked banana, applesauce, and chopped dates meal helped me get off of cottage cheese almost immediately. Wheat/grain toast, wheat spaghetti, etc. were all areas that I visited for varying periods of time to overcome hurdles. For more details about how I use these foods in my own transition, check out my book, Spira Speaks, Dialogues and Essays on the Mucusless Diet Healing System. Number 3, fresh vegetables should not be immersed and cooked in hot water, but lightly steamed or stewed. From this perspective, stewed onions may also be viewed as sautéed. An onion sauté is a great way to make the standard cooked mixture taste great. To create a sauté, heat some olive oil or grapeseed oil in a pan, and add chopped onions and optionally chopped garlic, and periodically move with the spatula until tender and slightly browned. Chopped celery and carrots may also make a nice addition to the sauté. Number 4. This is an editorial note added by Ehret's original editor, most trusted student, and former owner of Ehret's Literature Publishing Company. Fred S. Hirsch, 1888 through 1979. This note suggests that many of the mucusline transitional recipes listed in the chapter were not put into the original mucusless diet by Ehret, but added later by Hirsch. There are also minor changes that have been made from addition to addition. Number 5. Cottage cheese, applesauce, chopped dates, and a little brown sugar is a similar variation. Using baked banana instead of cottage cheese is a superior and much tastier upgrade to this recipe. To bake a banana, cut off the tips on both ends, leave the skin on. Place on a baking sheet and then into an oven preheated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 30 minutes. Depending on how ripe the banana was to start with, it may take a bit less or more time to bake. When it is done, warm banana juice will begin to leak from the two ends of the banana and the skin will be very dark. Take it out of the oven, make a slit lengthwise across the skin, and empty the warm banana meat and juice into a bowl. Then combine it with applesauce and chopped dates. This baked banana menu may easily quench cravings for sweets such as cakes or pies, and is almost mucusless. Fasting. Lesson 18. It is significant for our time of degeneration that fasting, by which I mean living without solid and liquid food, is still a problem as a healing factor for the average man or woman, as well as for the orthodox medical doctor. Even naturopathy required a few decades in its development to take up nature's only universal and omnipotent remedy of healing. It is further significant that fasting is still considered as a special kind of cure, and due to some truly marvelous results here and there, it has quite recently become a worldwide fad. Some expert nature cure advocates plan out general prescriptions of fasting, and how to break a fast regardless of your condition or the cause from which you are a sufferer. On the other hand, fasting is so feared and misrepresented that the average person actually considers you a fool if you miss a few meals when sick, thinking you will starve to death, when in reality you are being cured. They fail to understand the difference between fasting and starvation. The medical doctor in general endorses and, in fact, teaches such foolish beliefs regarding nature's only foundational law of healing and curing. Whatever has been designed and formulated to eliminate the disease matters, and designed as natural treatments without having at least some restriction or change in diet or fasting, is a fundamental disregard of the truth concerning the cause of disease. Have you ever thought what the lack of appetite means when sick? And those animals have no doctors, and no drugstores, and no sanitariums, and no machinery to heal them. Nature demonstrates and teaches, by that example, that there is only one disease, and that one is caused through eating, and therefore every disease whatsoever it may be named by humans is and can be healed by one remedy only, by doing the direct opposite of the cause, by the compensation of the wrong, i.e., reducing the quantity of food or fasting. The reason so many, and especially long fasting cures, have failed and continue to fail is due to the ignorance which still exists regarding what is going on in the body during a fast, an ignorance still existing even in the minds of naturopaths and fasting experts up to the present date. I dare say there may not be another person in history that has studied, investigated, tested, and experimented on fasting as much as I did. There is no other expert at present, as far as I know, who conducted so many fasting cures on the most severe cases as I did. I opened the first special sanitarium in the world for fasting, combined with the mucusless diet, and fasting is an essential part of the mucusless diet healing system. I have likewise made 4 public scientific tests of fasting of 21, 24, 32, and 49 days respectively as a demonstration. The latter test is the world's record of a fast, conducted under a strict scientific supervision of government officials. You may therefore believe me when I teach something new and instructive about what actually happens in the body during a fast. You learned in Lesson 5 that the body must first be considered as a machine, a mechanism made of rubber-like material which has been overexpanded during its entire life through overeating. Therefore, the functioning of the organism is continually obstructed by an unnatural overpressure of the blood and on the tissues. As soon as you stop eating, this overpressure is rapidly relieved. The avenues of the circulation contract, the blood becomes more concentrated, and the superfluous water is eliminated. This goes on for the first few days, and you may even feel fine, but then the obstructions of the circulation become greater because the diameter of the avenues becomes smaller, and the blood must circulate through many parts of the body, especially in the tissues, at and around the symptom, again sticky mucus pressed out and dissolved from the inside walls. In other words, the bloodstream must overcome, dissolve, and carry with itself mucus and poisons for elimination through the kidneys. When you fast, you eliminate first and at once the primary obstructions of wrong and too much eating. This results in your feeling relatively good, or possibly even better, than when eating. But, as previously explained, you bring new, secondary obstructions from your own waste in the circulation and you feel miserable. You and everyone else blame the lack of food. The next day, you can notice with certainty mucus in the urine, and when the quantity of waste taken in the circulation is eliminated, you will undoubtedly feel fine, even stronger than ever before. So it is a well-known fact that a faster can feel better and is actually stronger on the 20th day than on the 5th or 6th day. Certainly a tremendous proof that vitality does not depend primarily on food, but rather from an unobstructed circulation. See Lesson 5. The smaller the amount of O, obstruction, the greater P, air pressure, and therefore V, vitality. Through the above enlightening explanation, you see that fasting is first, a negative proposition to relieve the body from direct obstructions of solid, most unnatural foods. Second, that it is a mechanical process of elimination by contracting tissues pressing out mucus, causing friction and obstruction in the circulation. The following are examples of vitality from P. Power, air pressure alone. One of my first fasters, a relatively healthy vegetarian, walked 45 miles in the mountains on his 24th fasting day. A friend, 15 years younger, and I walked 56 hours continually after a 10-day fast. A German physician, a specialist in fasting cures, published a pamphlet entitled Fasting, the Increase of Vitality. He learned the same fact that I did, but he does not know why and how, and vitality therefore remained mysterious for him. If you drink only water during a fast, the human mechanism cleanses itself, the same as though you would press out a dirty, watery sponge. But the dirt in this instance is sticky mucus, and in many cases pus and drugs, which must pass through the circulation until it is so thoroughly dissolved that it can pass through the fine structure of the physiological sieve called kidneys. Fasting, Part 2, Lesson 19. As long as the waste is in the circulation, you feel miserable during a fast. As soon as it is through the kidneys, you feel fine. 2 or 3 days later, and the same process repeats itself. It must now be clear to you why conditions change so often during a fast. It must now be clear to you why it is possible for you to feel unusually better and stronger on the 20th fast day than on the 5th, for instance. But this entire cleansing work, through continued contracting of the tissues, becoming lean, must be done by and with the original old blood composition of the patient, and consequently a long fast, especially a too long fast, may become in fact a crime if the sick organism is too greatly clogged up by waste. Fasters who died from too long a fast did not die from lack of food, but actually suffocated in and with their own waste. I made this statement years ago. More clearly expressed, the immediate cause of death is not a poverty of the blood in the vital substances, but from too much obstruction. O, obstruction, becomes as great as even or greater than P, air pressure, and the body mechanism is at its death point. I gave all of my fasters lemonade with a trace of honey or brown sugar for loosening and thinning the mucus in the circulation. Lemon juice and fruit acids of all kinds neutralize the stickiness of mucus and pus. Acid paste cannot be used for sticking purposes. If a patient has ever taken drugs over their entire life period, which are stored up in the body like the waste from food, their condition might easily become serious or even dangerous when these poisons enter the circulation, when they take their first fast. Palpitation of the heart, headaches, nervousness may set in, and especially insomnia. I saw patients eliminate drugs they had taken as long as 40 years before. Symptoms such as described above are blamed on the fast by everybody, and especially doctors. How long should one fast? Nature answers this question in the animal kingdom with a certain cruelty. Fast until you are either healed or dead. In my estimation, 50 to 60% of the so-called healthy people of today and 80 to 90% of the seriously chronic sick would die from their latent diseases through a long fast. How long one should fast cannot be definitely stated at all, in advance, even in cases where the condition of the patient is known. When and how to break the fast is determined by noting carefully how conditions change during the fast. You now understand that the fast should be broken as soon as you notice that the obstructions are becoming too great in the circulation, and the blood needs new vital substances to resist and neutralize the poisons. Change your ideas regarding the claim, the longer you fast, the better the cure. You may now readily understand why. Humans are the sickest animals on earth. No other animal has violated the laws of eating as much as humans. No other animal eats as wrongly as humans. Here is the point where human intelligence can correctly assist in the self-healing process by the following adjustments which embrace the mucusless diet healing system. First, prepare for an easier fast by gradually changing diet towards a mucusless diet and by laxatives and enemas. Second, change shorter fast periodically with some eating days of cleansing mucus-poor and mucusless diet. Third, be particularly careful if the patient used much drugs, especially if a mercury or saltpeter oxide of silver taken for venereal diseases have been used, in which case a long, slowly changing preparative diet is advisable. An expert's suggestion to fast until the tongue is clean caused many troubles with fanatical fasters, and I personally know of one death. You may be surprised when I tell you that I had to cure patients from the ill effects of too long a fast. The reason will be clear later. In spite of the above, every cure, and especially every cure of diet, should start with a 2 or 3 day fast. Every patient can do this without any harm, regardless of how seriously sick they may be. First, a light laxative and then an enema daily makes it easier as well as harmless. How to break a fast. The right food after a fast is as important and decisive for proper results as the fast itself. At the same time, it depends entirely upon the conditions of the patient and very much upon the length of the fast. You may learn from the results of the 2 extreme cases, both of which ended fatally, not from the fast but from the first wrong meal. Just why this knowledge is so important. A one-sided meat eater suffering from diabetes broke his fast, which lasted about a week, by eating dates and died from the effects. A man over 60 years of age fasted 28 days, too long, his first meal of vegetarian foods consisting mainly of boiled potatoes. A necessary operation showed that the potatoes were kept in the contracted intestines by thick, sticky mucus so strong that a piece had to be cut off, and the patient died shortly after the operation. In the first case, the terrible poisons loosened in the stomach of this one-sided meat eater during his fast, when mixed with the concentrated fruit sugar of the dates, caused at once so great a fermentation with carbonic acid gases and other poisons that the patient could not stand the shock. The correct advice would be, first a laxative, later raw and cooked starchless vegetables, a piece of rough bran bread toast. Sauerkraut is to be recommended in such cases. No fruit should be eaten for a long time after the fast has been broken. The patient should have been prepared for the fast by a longer transition diet. In the second case, the patient fasted entirely too long for a person of his age without proper preparation. Hot compresses on the abdomen and high enemas might have helped the elimination, together with a strong eliminative laxative, and then starchless, mostly raw, vegetables, no fruits for a considerable time. Through these 2 very instructive examples, you may see how individually different the advice must be, and how wrong it is to make up general suggestions concerning how to break a fast. Lesson 19, Footnotes. Number 1. To avoid using honey or brown sugar, you may add the fresh juice of several apples or a handful of grapes. Number 2. Many modern-day practitioners of the mucusless diet healing system perform regular lemon juice enemas. For detailed instructions on lemon juice enemas, see my book Spira Speaks, Dialogues and Essays on the Mucusless Diet Healing System. Number 3. Breaking a fast properly is of the utmost importance. I will reinforce Ehret's statements with the following rules. Rule number 1. Do not break a fast with any mucus-forming foods. In fact, try to eat mucusless for several days after breaking the fast. You do not want to lose control if you start craving mucus-forming foods right after eating your first meal. You can either break your fast with a fruit meal or vegetable meal. The fruit meal is more aggressive, and if you are not clean enough, you could crave mucus afterward. A very laxative vegetable meal or salad can be beneficial. The key is to eat foods that create a laxative effect and travel through the intestines fast and efficiently. Rule number 2, do consistent enemas. In light of the above, one of the most important things during and immediately after a fast is regular colon irrigation. It is important that the newly loosened waste is kept moving. Fasting may be viewed as an art form, and the ability to eloquently break one is the mark of a true master. This is one reason why short fasts are recommended in the beginning. As you gain experience with short-term fasting periods, You will learn how to maintain total control when you break a fast of any length. Fasting, Part 3, Lesson 20. Important rules to be carefully studied and memorized. What can be said in general and what I teach is new and different from the average fasting experts and is as follows. Number 1, the first meal and the menus for a few days after a fast must be of a laxative effect and not of nourishing value as most others think. Number 2, the sooner the first meal passes through the body, the more efficiently it carries out the loosened mucus and poisons of the intestines and the stomach. Number 3, if no good stool is experienced after 2 or 3 hours, help with natural laxatives and enemas. Whenever I fasted, I always experienced a good bowel movement at least 1 hour after eating, and at once felt fine. After breaking a long fast, I spent more time on the toilet than in bed the following night, and that was as it should be. While sojourning in Italy many years ago, I drank about 2 quarts of fresh grape juice after a fast. At once I experienced a watery diarrhea set in foaming mucus. Almost immediately after, I experienced a feeling of such unusual strength that I easily performed the knee-bending and arm-stretching exercise 352 times. This removal so thoroughly of obstructions taking place after a fast of a few days increased P, vitality, at once. You will have to experience a similar sensation to believe me, and then you will agree with my formula, V equals P minus O, and you will realize the absurdity of making up scientific, nourishing menus for health and efficiency. Number 4, the longer the fast, the more efficiently the bowels perform after it is over. Number 5, the best laxative foods after a fast are fresh sweet fruits. The best of all are cherries and grapes. Soaked or stewed prunes are good too. These fruits must not be used after a meat eater's first fast, but only for people who have lived for a certain time on mucusless, or at least mucus-poor foods, the transition diet. Number 6, in the average case, it is advisable to break the fast with raw and cooked starchless vegetables. Stewed spinach has an especially good effect. Number 7, if the first meal foods do not cause any unpleasantness, you may eat as much as you can. Eating only a small quantity of food for the first 2 or 3 days without experiencing a bowel movement, owing to the small amount of food taken, another wrong advice given by experts, is dangerous. Number 8, if you are in the proper condition so that you can start eating with fruits, and you have no bowel movement after about an hour, then eat more or eat a vegetable meal as suggested above. Eat until you bring out the waste accumulated during the fast with your stool after eating the first meal. Rules during the fast. Number 1, clean the lower intestines as well as you can with enemas at least every other day. Number 2, before starting a longer fast, take a laxative occasionally, and by all means the day before you start the fast. Number 3, if possible, remain in the fresh air day and night. Number 4, take a walk, exercise, or some other physical work only when you feel strong enough to do it. If tired and weak, rest and sleep as much as you can. Number 5, on days that you feel weak, and you will experience such days when the waste is in the circulation, you will find that your sleep is restless and disturbed, and you may experience bad dreams. This is caused through the poisons passing through the brain. Doubt, loss of faith will arise in your mind. Then take this lesson and read it over and over, as well as the other fasting chapters and especially Lesson 5. Don't forget that you are, parenthetically speaking, lying on nature's operating table, the most wonderful of all operations that could be performed, and without the use of a knife. If any extraordinary sensation occurs due to the drugs that are now in the circulation, take an enema at once, lie down, and if necessary, break the fast, but not with fruits. Number 6, whenever you arise after lying down, do it slowly, otherwise you may become dizzy. The latter condition is not serious, but you had better avoid it in this manner. It caused me considerable fear in the beginning, and I know a number of fasters and strict eaters who gave up when they experienced the sensation, lost their faith forever. Fasting drinks. The fanatic fasting enthusiast drinks only water. They think it best to avoid any trace of food whatsoever. I consider light lemonade with a little honey or brown sugar, or a little fruit juice the best. Drink as often as you care to during the day, but in general, not more than 2 or 3 quarts a day. The less you drink, the more aggressive the fast works. As a change, vegetable juices made from cooked starchless vegetables are very good during a longer fast. Raw tomato juice, etc. are also good. But if fruit juice, for example, orange juice, is used during a longer fast, be extremely careful because the fruit juices may cause the poisons to become loosened too rapidly without causing a bowel movement. I know a number of such fruit or fruit juice fasts which failed completely because all mucus and poisons, if loosened too fast and too much at one time, disturbs all organs too greatly when in the circulation. This waste can only be eliminated through the circulation and without the aid of bowel movements. Morning fast or non-breakfast plan. The worst of all eating habits nowadays is to stuff the stomach with food early in the morning. In European countries, excepting England, no one takes a regular meal for breakfast. It is generally a drink of some kind with bread only. The only time that humans do not eat for 10 to 12 hours is during the night while they are asleep. As soon as their stomach is free from food, the body starts the eliminating process of a fast. Therefore, encumbered people awaken in the morning feeling miserable and usually have a heavily coated tongue. They have no appetite at all, yet they demand food, eat it, and feel better. Why? Another mystery revealed. This is one of the greatest problems I've solved, and is one that puzzles all experts who believe it is the food itself. As soon as you refill the stomach with food, the elimination is stopped, and you feel better. I must say that this secret which I discovered is undoubtedly the explanation of why eating became a habit and is no longer what nature intended it to be, namely a satisfaction, a compensation of nature's need of food. This habit of eating, affecting all civilized humankind, and now physiologically explained, involves and proves the saying I coined long ago. Life is a tragedy of nutrition. The more waste humans accumulate, the more they must eat to stop the elimination. I had patients who had to eat several times during the night to be able to sleep again. In other words, they had to put food in the stomach to avoid the digestion of mucus and poisons accumulated there. Lesson 20. Footnotes. Number 1. It must be understood that Ehret does not have a strict or dogmatic definition of what is and is not fasting. In his book, Rational Fasting, as well as the Mucusless Diet Healing System, Ehret discusses a spectrum of fasting experiences from water to juice fasting to all fruit dieting. First, he explains, we need only to give a patient of any kind nothing but mucusless food, for instance, fruit or even nothing but water or lemonade. We then find that the entire digestive energy, freed for the first time, throws itself upon the mucous matters accumulated since childhood and frequently hardened, as well as on the pathological beds formed therefrom, rational fasting. Ehret continues, if you drink only water during a fast, the human mechanism cleanses itself, the same as though you would press out a dirty watery sponge. But the dirt in this instance is sticky mucus, and in many cases, pus and drugs, which must pass through the circulation until it is so thoroughly dissolved that it can pass through the fine structure of the physiological sieve, called kidneys. Rational Fasting, Lesson 18, Fasting Part 1. Above, Ehret uses water fasting to illustrate principles related to the way in which the body cleanses itself. Here, Ehret highlights the notion that the body heals itself when properly cleansed of obstructions. While talking about one of his own water fasts, he explains, while sojourning in Italy many years ago, I drank about 2 quarts of fresh grape juice after a fast. At once, I experienced a watery diarrhea set in foaming mucus. Rational Fasting, Lesson 20, Fasting Part 3. Since he had also been water fasting, he viewed the fresh grape juice as breaking his fast. Also Ehret's famous public scientific test of fastings of 21, 24, 32, and 49 days. Rational Fasting, Lesson 18. Conducted under strict scientific supervision of Swiss government officials are water fasts. With that said, Ehret does not emphasize water fasting as the default modality for most of his own patients, or advocate long water fasts. He explains, as I have stated before, I am no longer in favor of long fasts. In fact, it may become criminal to let a patient fast for 30 or 40 days on water, contracting the avenues of circulation, which are continually filling up more and more with mucus, and by dangerous old drugs and poisons, and at the same time, rotten blood from his old stock, in fact, actually starving from necessary vital food elements. No one can stand a fast of that kind without disadvantage, or without harming his or her vitality. Rational Fasting and Lesson 21, Fasting Part 4. Ehret emphasizes the principle of transition and a gradual change toward cleansing foods when he says, if fasting is to be used at all, then start at first with a non-breakfast plan, then follow with the 24-hour fast for a while, then gradually increase up to 3, 4, or 5-day fasts, eating between fast for 1, 2, 3, or 4 days, a mucusless diet, combined individually with an elimination adjustment, and at the same time supplying and rebuilding the body continually, with and by the best elements contained in and found only in mucusless foods. Rational Fasting, Lesson 21, Fasting Part 4. Ultimately, it is important to understand the various levels of fasting available to you. You will want to use the forms of dietary restriction that are rational for your physiological condition and experience level. Through Ehret's transitional ethos, fasting for humans in their current pathological conditions is a relative proposition. What may be fasting for my body may not be for yours. As Ehret implies, for some, just eating mucusless or a fruit-only diet could be a certain level of fasting. If you have questions or concerns about the type of fast that you should do, it may be advantageous to consult with a mucusless diet professional who can help you make the right fasting decisions. Number 2, be careful not to crave and then uncontrollably eat the cooked vegetables used to make the broth. You do not want to break a fast with overcooked vegetables, as they will not eliminate well. Number 3, also remember that oranges and other citrus fruits that have not been ripened on the tree can sometimes be very acidic. If it is not possible to find tree-ripened citrus fruits, be sure that the ones you use are as sweet as possible. Fasting Part 4, Lesson 21. You have just read in Lesson 20 about patients eating several times during the night in order to sleep again. You have been taught why this happens. Upon awakening, you may perhaps feel fine, but instead of getting up, you remain in bed and fall asleep again, have a bad dream, and actually feel miserable upon awakening the second time. You can now understand the exact reason for this. As soon as you get up and move around, walk, or exercise, the body is in an entirely different condition than during sleep. The elimination is slowed down. The energy is being used elsewhere. If eating breakfast is eliminated from your daily menus, you will probably experience some harmless sensations, such as headaches for the first 1 or 2 days. After that, you will feel much better and enjoy your luncheon better than ever. Hundreds of severe cases have been cured by the non-breakfast fast alone, without important changes in diet, proving that the habit of a full breakfast meal is the worst of all and most injurious. It is advisable and really of great advantage to allow the patient to have the same drink for breakfast that they are accustomed to. If they crave coffee, let them continue to drink coffee, but absolutely no solid food. Later on, replace the coffee with a warm vegetable juice, and still later, change to fruit juice or lemonade. This change should be made gradually for the average mixed eater. The 24-hour fast or 1 meal a day plan. As with the breakfast fast, you can heal more severe cases with a 24-hour fast, or in cases of deep chronic encumbrance and drugs, it is a careful preliminary step to the necessary longer fasts. The best time to eat is in the afternoon, say 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. If the patient is on the mucusless or transition diet, let him eat the fruits first. Fruit should always be eaten first. And after a lapse of 15 to 20 minutes, eat the vegetables. But all should be eaten within an hour, so that it is, so to say, 1 meal. Fasting when used in connection with the mucusless diet healing system. As I have stated before, I am no longer in favor of long fasts. In fact, it may become criminal to let a patient fast for 30 or 40 days on water, contracting the avenues of circulation, which are continually filled up more and more with mucus, and by dangerous old drugs and poisons, and at the same time rotten blood from their old stock, in fact, actually starving from necessary vital food elements. No one can stand a fast of that kind without disadvantage or without harming his or her vitality. If fasting is to be used at all, then start at first with the non-breakfast plan, then follow with the 24-hour fast for a while. Then gradually increase up to 3, 4, or 5-day fasts, eating between fast for 1, 2, 3, or 4 days a mucusless diet, combined individually as an elimination adjustment, and at the same time supplying and rebuilding the body continually, with and by the best elements contained in and found only in mucusless foods. Through such an intermittent fast, the blood is gradually improved, regenerated, can more easily stand the poisons and waste, and is able at the same time to dissolve and eliminate disease deposits from the deepest tissues of the body, deposits that no doctor ever dreamed existed, and that no other method of healing has ever discovered or can ever remove. This, then, is the mucusless diet healing system, with fasting as an essential part of it. Fasting in cases of acute disease. Hunger Cures, Wonder Cures, was the title of the first fasting book I ever read. It gave the experiences of a country doctor in which he said, no feverish, acute disease must nor can end with death if nature's instinctive command to stop eating through lack of appetite is followed. It is insanity to give food to a pneumonia patient with a high fever, for instance. Having had an unusual contraction of the lung tissues by a cold, the pressed out mucus goes into the circulation and produces an unusual heat fever. The human engine, already at the bursting point through heat, becomes more heated through partaking of solid food, meat broth, etc., good nourishing food so-called. Air baths taken in the room, enemas, natural laxatives, and cool lemonade would save the lives of thousands of young men and women who are now daily permitted to die, the innocent victims of pneumonia or other acute diseases, due to the stubborn ignorance of doctors and so-called highly civilized people. The Superior Fast. Please try and memorize the lesson on metabolism, Lesson 6, because it is the most important truth of my new physiology. You should also memorize Lesson 5, and then you will clearly understand fasting with all its possible sensations. All experts, excepting myself, believe that you live from your own flesh during a fast. You know now that what they call metabolism, metabolize your own flesh when you fast, is simply the elimination of waste. The Indian fakir, the greatest faster in the world today, is nothing but skin and bones. I learned that the cleaner you are, the easier it is to fast, and the longer you can stand it. In other words, in a body free from all waste and poisons, and when no solid foods are taken, the human body functions for the first time in its life without obstructions. The elasticity of the entire tissue system and of the internal organs, especially the spongy lungs, work with an entirely different vibration. They become more efficient than ever before. They work by air alone and without the slightest obstruction. When stated differently, what this means is that V equals P, and that if you simply supply the engine with the necessary water that is used up, you ascend into a higher state of physical, mental, and spiritual condition. I call this the Superior Fast. If your bloodstock is formed from eating the foods I teach, your brain will function in a manner that will surprise you. Your former life will take on the appearance of a dream, and for the first time in your existence, your consciousness will awaken to a real self-consciousness. Your mind, your thinking, your ideals, your aspirations, and your philosophy will change fundamentally in such a way so as to beggar description. Your soul will shout for joy and triumph over all misery of life, leaving it all behind you. For the first time, you will feel a vibration of vitality through your body, like a slight electric current that shakes you delightfully. You will learn and realize that fasting and superior fasting, and not volumes of psychology and philosophy, is the real and only key to a superior life, the revelation of a superior world, and to the spiritual world. Lesson 21, Footnotes. Number 1. This paragraph illustrates Ehret's transitional methodology very well. Here he recommends a gradual change from a more dangerous substance, such as coffee, to improved substances, such as warm vegetable juice or fruit juice. Studying such passages can help you to adopt a transitional way of thinking that can greatly improve your practice of the mucusless diet. Number 2. The nature of what Ehret describes as the superior fast is an interesting question. Above, Ehret says, and if you simply supply the engine with the necessary water that is used up, you ascend into a higher state of physical, mental, and spiritual condition. I call this the superior fast. Some people interpret this to mean that water fasting is a superior fast. In other words, that Ehret infers that water needs to be replenished through drinking. Yet, in Lesson 5, Ehret asserts that the body is an air-gas engine that runs on air alone. Based on Ehret's arguments in this lesson, some interpret the superior fast to be what many people call a dry fast. That is, no substances other than air taken into the body. It must be understood that dry fasting is not advocated by Ehret, and in most cases should not be performed by inexperienced practitioners or without supervision of a mucusless diet professional. From this perspective, perhaps the H2O created through the breathing process would suffice as the necessary water for the human body. C6H12O6 plus 6O2 leads to 6CO2 plus 6H2O. This equates to glucose plus oxygen leads to carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. In other words, oxygen coming into contact with the bloodstream produces carbon dioxide, water, and energy. As Ehret asserts, the cleaner, the freer from obstructions, from waste the body is, the easier and the longer you can fast with water and air alone. MDHS. Ehret always makes careful distinction between the ideal theory and practical applications of fasting and the mucusless diet. This often causes people to misinterpret Ehret's work, because the idealistic theory of fasting is seemingly different from the prescribed practical application. This also occurred when Ehret asserts that humans are by nature fruit eaters, and that the ideal menu for humans is the mono diet, consisting of one kind of fruit in season. Yet, Ehret does not suggest that we can go from our current diets to an all-fruit diet overnight, as many readers have grievously misunderstood. Essentially, I find the ideal and superior theorized modalities for humans to be the destination that may one day be reached after the dedicated and effective practice of the mucusless diet healing system. Destructive diet of civilization and the mucusless diet, the natural food of humans. Lesson 22. You have now learned that total abstinence from food, fasting, is the best and most effective method of healing. This proves with logical consequence how only a small quantity is in fact necessary to sustain life, and it justifies my oft-repeated statement. The wonder is that we live in spite of our excessive eating, in spite of our eating such wrong, destructive foods. In the light of this truth, it almost appears ridiculous to take note the endless fight and confusion regarding dietetics, protein, mineral salts, vitamins, etc. The potential food value is not the first question at all. You cannot heal drunkenness by water without stopping the intake of alcohol. You cannot heal disease through any kind of adjustments, treatments, or diets without stopping the eating of the foods which produce disease, the latter being 90% of the present-day destructive diet of civilization. I name the natural food of humans, fruits, and starchless green leafy vegetables, as it is said in Genesis, fruits and herbs, mucusless diet, because mucus is the main and important and significant substance, while the other, wrong foods, contain, produce, and encumber the human body with matter of disease. The entire trash of scientific dietetics, food values, statistics, etc., is useless and in vain so long as the first step is not taken, and that is to see the foods and their value from a principally different angle. Number 1. How far and how much it produces and leaves disease matter, mucus, in the body. Number 2. Their dissolving, eliminating, healing properties. For this purpose, I give you a special critique of the different foods, wrong foods especially, and you can see at once why they are destructive, with no positive food value at all, but producing and leaving stored-up waste in the body. See Lesson 14, and you will find that Berg's investigations prove to be the same that I found by intuition, experimenting and through experience with myself and some thousands of patients. Meats. All are in a decomposing state, producing cadaver poisons, uric acid in the body, and mucus. Fats are the worst. Even butter is unusable for the human body. No animals eat fat. Eggs. Eggs are even worse than meats. This is because not only do eggs have too high protein qualities, but they also contain a gluey property, much worse than meat, and are therefore very constipating, quite more so than meat. Hard-boiled eggs are less harmful because the gluey qualities are destroyed. The white of eggs makes perfect glue. Milk also makes good glue for painting. Cow's milk is too rich for adults and for babies, and it is plainly destructive. A baby's stomach cannot digest what a calf can. If milk must be used, then add at least half water and some sugar. Sour milk and buttermilk are less harmful and possess some laxative qualities. The gluey, sticky properties disappear. Cottage cheese with stewed fruit, see Lesson 15, is good for transition diet. All other kinds of cheese are highly acidic and are mucus formers. Fats. All fats are acid-forming, even those of vegetable origin, and are not used by the body. You will like, crave, and use them only as long as you can still see mucus in the magic mirror. What doctors call heat calories is caused by the fats in friction. Obstruction in the circulation, they constipate the small blood vessels. Cereals. Cereals and all flour products form mucus and acid. The worst of all is white flour because it makes the best paste. Bran, gram, whole wheat, or rye bread are less harmful because they have lost their sticky properties. When done well, or toasted and well baked, they are much less harmful. Raw cereals, if toasted, are to some extent a mucus broom, but contain stimulants wrongly believed to be food value. Pies made of rough, unbaked dough are, according to my belief, absurd. When eaten with sweets and acids, they are mucus and gas producers, the same as French pastry. Legumes. Lentils, dry beans, and dried peas are too rich in protein, the same as meat and eggs. The peanut is also a legume. Potatoes. They are a little better than flour products because they contain more mineral salts. They do not make good sticky paste. Sweet potatoes come close to natural sweets but are too rich. Well fried or crusty, baked like Saratoga potato chips. But without the animal grease, sweet potatoes are almost mucusless. Rice is one of the greatest mucus formers and makes an excellent paste. I firmly believe through my experience with serious cases of sickness, awful boils, etc., prevalent among one-sided rice eaters, that rice is the foundational cause of leprosy, that terrible pestilence. Nuts. All nuts are too rich in protein and fat and should be eaten only in winter, and then, too, only sparingly. Nuts should be chewed together with some dried sweet fruits or honey, never with juicy fruits, because water and fat do not mix. With the possible exception of nuts, the above represents about all of the foods which have to be prepared in some manner for eating. In fact, they are tasteless unless specially prepared. What civilized people call good to eat, delicious taste, is absurd. If the tongue is cleaned from mucus and the nose for the first time free from dirty filth, both then become in fact magic mirrors, revelation organs. We may call them the bridge of the sixth sense, that is, to sense the truth. You lose all desire for, and in fact cannot stand, these stimulating spices, especially table salt, any longer. All of these unnatural foods are extremely bitter, and in fact, for a normal nose they possess an offensive odor. The sense organs of humans are in a pathological state embodied in pus-like mucus and waste, the same as the entire system, and being in a partly decayed condition themselves, they find this half-rotten food palatable. Even then you would and could not eat fats or animal foods without the cook's preparation, that is, the art to cover the real taste and odor by spices and dressings. In fact, taste and smell vibrations are so far changed from the normal natural that the heavy meat eater does not like the wonderful odor of a ripe banana. They prefer hot gout, a French word meaning the smell of half-decayed meat. No scientific food value tables will convince you of the truth. You must sense it with your cleansed organs, how wrongly you are fooled into believing that you nourish and build up health and efficiency by these foods, which are in reality destructive, because they stimulate, or more truthfully, stop the elimination of your old waste until the day of reckoning comes, when you are officially sick. Paradoxically, it is true that civilized people starve to death through 10 times too much overeating of wrong, destructive foods. The sac, stomach, of digestion is enlarged and sunken, prolapsed, which condition dislocates and interferes with the proper functioning of the other organs. Its gland and pores of the walls are totally constipated, and its elasticity, as well as that of the intestines, with its vital function almost paralyzed. The abdomen is an abnormally enlarged sac of fatty, watery, dislocated organs through which half or even more of the decayed foods of civilization slide. It ferments more and more into feces, such as no animal has, and this is called digestion. Natural Food of Man is the title of a book by Hereward Carrington. There are some others by European authors who prove and show from every point of view that humans have, and must have, lived in prehistoric times from unfired natural foods, fruits, and green leaf vegetables. However, a great philosopher once said, "Whatever must be first proved is doubtful. Whoever does not see or sense the truth at once will never believe it, even if it is proven thousands of times and from every possible angle." Even experts of fruit diet and raw food advocates have doubts that the degenerate humans of today can live the paradisiacal life. It took me a few years of continual testing and experimenting until I was thoroughly convinced in spite of the fact that I believed at once. Now, memorize what I teach in Lesson 5 and in the lessons on the new physiology. All others are on the wrong track, misled by the protein fad, as well as through ignorance of how it looks inside of the body, what disease is, etc. But especially obstructive to recognition of the truth is the ignorance as to what happens in the body if you eat fruits, fast, or live on a mucusless diet. This fact that the interpretation of all and every sensation, which becomes more and more strange and new, the more and deeper healing process goes on, is based on the old physiology, and is therefore, and must be, consequently wrong. It is and was the stumbling block in the Enlightenment about drugless healing in the first place, and advanced dietetics in particular. The natural diet was never systematically taken up, especially in combination with fasting, based on the truth of my new but correct physiology. This is absolutely necessary to learn and to understand, if you believe and know unshakably the truth of Lesson 5, as well as the other lessons bearing on this subject. You will never doubt any more that fruits alone, even of but one kind, not only heal but nourish perfectly the human body, eliminating entirely the possibility of disease. All others, not knowing these new truths and not possessing the necessary knowledge contained only in the mucusless diet healing system, can never secure a perfectly clean body and complete healing as well as possess an understanding of every situation. They will never believe in the divine perfectness of the bread of heaven, as it is said, "The Lord will punish them by blindness." Spiritual blindness, meaning that doubt, losing faith and belief, will return again and again, as long as waste and old poisons are circulating through the brain for elimination. You are saved from this tragic error, I hope. The more free you become from any kind of waste and poisons, the more you will sense, feel, and believe this greatest of all truths, that the paradisiacal diet is not only sufficient, but brings you higher and higher into physical and mental conditions never before experienced. Lesson 22. Footnotes. Number 1. As mentioned earlier, many readers assume that avocados are mucus-free because they are technically a fruit. Although avocados are not addressed specifically by Ehret, as they did not become a prevalent salad item until the 1950s, Ehret clearly indicates that all fat-containing foods, including those of vegetable origin, are mucus-forming. Avocados have become a staple for many self-identified raw foodists, vegans, and fruitarians. From the perspective of the mucusless diet, it is important to be mindful of how much you eat fatty fruits, or avoid them completely. If they are being eaten, it is best to begin mindfully transitioning off them. Number 2. Ehret does not say much about the calorie theory, which suggests his disregard for it. The term calorie, circa 1865, derives from the Latin calor, gen caloris, meaning heat. The large calorie, also called the dietary or nutritional calorie, is the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. A calorimeter, invented by Wilbur Olin Atwater, 1844 through 1907, is the device used to measure the heat of chemical reactions as well as heat capacity. What is known as food energy is defined as the amount of energy obtained from food available through cellular respiration. Based on the first law of thermodynamics, that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but only changed from one form to another. Atwater theorized that the amount of unused food energy is left over and stored in the body. Atwater reported on the weight of the calorie as a means to measure the efficiency of a diet. He stated that different types of food produced different amounts of energy, and he advocated that the optimal diet should include mostly proteins, beans, and vegetables, while fats and fruits were to be avoided. See Principles of Nutrition and Nutritive Value of Food by Atwater, 1904. But how is it possible for a calorimeter to incinerate food like a human body does? It simply does not. The way in which the body metabolizes food does not resemble the burning process used in a calorimeter. The way in which calories are conceived of in the dietary realm has shifted a bit since Ehret's time. Although fats are still estimated to represent 9 calories per gram, carbohydrates and proteins, flour, and fiber, sometimes counted separately, 2. Since Atwater's day, the practice of counting calories to restrict food intake in the hopes of losing weight has remained in fashion. The concept of calories is, at best, not useful and outdated, while the fanaticism surrounding it is most unfortunate. Ultimately, counting calories or the food energy of fruit and vegetables in the same way as a bag of white potato chips or a steak is the height of folly. From Ehret's perspective, the latter two are not foodstuffs fit for humans. How many calories does bleach have? Since we do not consider it to be food, the calculation has not been made. Humans, as a tropical frugivorous species, survive through years without endeavoring to measure the amount of heat it takes to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius, 1 large calorie. Such thinking has nurtured a fundamentally flawed notion of nutrition and metabolism, and enabled people to rationalize eating harmful substances. From Ehret's perspective, what Western dietitians view as energy from mucus-forming foods is nothing more than stimulation from a poison. Energy, i.e., true vitality in the human body, exists only in an internal environment that is free of acidic wastes, mucus, and uneliminated toxic foreign matters. For more on Ehret's theory of human vitality, see Lesson 5. Number 3. Earlier in the book, nuts are listed as mucusless. However, that contradicts what is said about nuts here. Ehret explains that all fats are mucus or acid-forming. To be clear, nuts are mucus-forming foods. As mentioned earlier, they should always be eaten with dried fruit such as raisins to aid in digestion and in moderation during the transition. Number 4. Hereward Carrington, Ph.D., 1880 through 1958, was a well-known British author and investigator of psychic phenomena. His subjects included several of the most high-profile cases of apparent psychic ability of his time, and he wrote over 100 books on subjects including paranormal and psychical research and progressive health. His most famous book, The Natural Food of Man, a brief statement of the principal arguments against the use of bread, cereals, pulses, and all other starch goods, 1912, explores the fruitarian nature of human beings. Sex. Lesson 23. Sex diseases. Through the knowledge received in past lessons, you now know and can realize more than any naturopath that there is no principal difference between any one kind of disease or another. In this particular case, however, we find an exception, but only insofar as the symptoms of syphilis are concerned. Venereal diseases can be healed by diet and fasting easily, for the simple reason that the patient is generally young in years. The cure becomes more aggravated, made more difficult if drugs have been used. This, of course, has unfortunately happened in almost every case. The so-called characteristic symptoms of any kind of syphilitic disease are due to drugs of one or several kinds. Gonorrhea. Nothing is easier to heal than this cold or catarrh at the sex organ, if untouched by drugs or injections. Doctors must admit that this condition may exist without actual sexual intercourse, and therefore the germ can hardly be blamed. Gonorrhea is simply an elimination through this natural elimination organ. One-sided meat eaters are very susceptible to this disease. Should a society girl contract it, they call it leukorrhea. If drug injections are used for any continued length of time, the mucus and pus are thrown back into the prostatic gland, bladder, etc. In case of the female, the entire womb, uterus, becomes inflamed, producing all kinds of typical woman diseases. I had hundreds of such cases where naturopathy failed to heal. Only fasting and this diet can help. Roselia or rose rash, a syphilitic eczema, characterized by its ham-gray shade. The gray shade of the whites of the eye is due to saltpeter acid, silver oxide injections. This is also the cause if gonorrhea enters the bone. All three are called syphilitic symptoms. Mercury is to blame for the hard chancre, secondary and tertiary syphilis. The so-called syphilis does not exist in the animal kingdom or among uncivilized people. Drugs are to blame for these destructive diseases, together with the diet of civilization. Sexual excesses are, of course, also to be blamed, but knowing exactly what disease is, you may agree if I expose the mystery of this disease with one stroke, i.e., drugs and extreme meat diet of civilization are far more to blame than all sexual excesses together. For a patient poisoned especially by mercury, a very careful and long transition diet is necessary. A radical fruit diet or fast may become harmful, not through it, but caused by the drugs when they are dissolved and are back in the bloodstream for elimination. This condition requires so careful a control of the elimination that under all circumstances an expert with previous experience is required. The so very common disease of dislocation or falling of the womb can be healed, and only by this diet, together with long fastings combined with short fast, and with a long preparative diet. I have saved hundreds of patients suffering from prostatic gland inflammation, stricture, bladder disease, from the tortures of doctors. I have facilitated cures even after naturopathy had failed by natural methods of elimination through a new and perfect blood composition resulting from a mucusless diet. Sex psychology. It is significant for our civilization that sexual intercourse is seen as an immoral act. It is yet in the shade of a mystery. From a natural moral standpoint, says a philosopher, an unclean person has no right to produce a new being. You shall not only generate, but reproduce yourself, says that great thinker Nietzsche. The fact is that we are all, with a very few exceptions, the cause of stimulants instead of love vibrations exclusively. Procreation is the most holy and divine act and charged with the highest responsibility, especially on the part of the father. A germ with the slightest defect is a generation not forward but backward. In ancient classical civilizations, sex was a cult, a religion, and in most mythological poetry of all civilized people, love is the great, main, and general subject with the conscious or unconscious goal to reproduce their kind. The fact is proven by statistics that every family of a city's population dies out, disappears with the third or fourth generation. In other words, the sins of the father and of the mothers produce diseased children and children's children, degenerating into death with the third generation. What are these sins? You shall love thy neighbor, and you do, perhaps, but you kill your own child, partly at least before it is born. Latent disease is general and universal. How can a defective germ grow into a perfect being between a filthy, mostly constipated colon and an unclean bladder of a civilized mother? And one of the worst tragedies of ignorance is the expectant mother, who eats twice as much decayed cadavers of animals killed years ago in the stockyards of Chicago, because she is advised to eat for two, herself and the growing embryo. Natural control of sex. Nothing above the truth, confess your sins to your own heart. It is a blasphemic paradox, tragic, there is no word strong enough, conditioned to stimulate a function continually, with enforcement ignorantly expecting thereby to grow healthy and happy, believing you can suppress or control this function by preaching morals. Nature does not listen to you, but you must listen to nature if you want to be happy. We are the product of stimulations, and not of natural love vibrations, which eventually leads to impotence. The only way to heal impotence is through fasting and this diet, see Lesson 5. Sex is a part of vitality. It is even, so to say, the barometer of regeneration, rejuvenation, youth, health, and happiness. I have seen the sterility of a female healed, and every patient who earnestly took up this system for any kind of disease rejuvenated. No one of Western civilization knows what genuine love vibrations mean from a body with clean blood composed of such ingredients that produce electric currents and static electricity, sent out and received by wireless hair. See what I have to say about hair in my rational fasting. The beard of man is a secondary sex organ. Beardless and hairless and bald makes for a second-rate sex quality in every respect. See Judges 16, section 13 through 18. If you could believe how easy it is to control sex by this diet, you would soon quit your steaks and eggs. Masturbation, night emissions, prostitution, etc. are all eliminated from the sex life of anyone living on a mucusless diet after their body has become clean and powerful. That saying, keeping the germ, an idea of modern experts, will nourish a person's brain, high-protein substance, is absurd. Love is the greatest power, and it is, if natural, the highest invisible food, from the infinite for soul and body. Lesson 23. Footnotes. Number 1. For more on Mercury, see Note 28. Number 2. In the Hebrew Bible, Samson, meaning man of the sun, is granted supernatural strength by God in order to combat his enemies and perform heroic feats. His two fatal flaws, however, are his attraction to deceptive women and his hair, without the latter of which he would lose his power and vitality. In these verses, Delilah is trying to discover what gives Samson his great strength so that she may find a way to subdue him. He finally admits that his hair had never been cut, and that is the source of his great strength. Verses 13 through 20 are included to provide greater context. Judges 16, section 13 through 20, New American Bible. So Delilah took new ropes and bound him with them, and said to him, The Philistines are upon you, Samson. For the men were lying in wait in the inner room. But he snapped the ropes from his arms like a thread. Then Delilah said to Samson, Up to now you have deceived me and told me lies. Tell me how you may be bound. And he said to her, If you weave the 7 locks of my hair with the web, and fasten it with a pin, then I will become weak and be like any other man. So while he slept, Delilah took the 7 locks of his hair, and wove them into a web. And she fastened it with the pin, and said to him, The Philistines are upon you, Samson. But he awoke from his sleep, and pulled out the pin of the loom and the web. Then she said to him, How can you say that you love me when you do not confide in me? 3 times already you have mocked me, and not told me the secret of your great strength. She importuned him continually, and vexed him with her complaints, till he was deathly weary of them. So he took her completely into his confidence, and told her, No razor has touched my head, for I have been consecrated to God from my mother's womb. If I am shaven, my strength will leave me, and I shall be as weak as any other man. When Delilah saw that he had given her completely into his confidence, she summoned the lords of the Philistines, saying, Come up this time, for he has opened his heart to me. So the lords of the Philistines came and brought up the money with them. She had him sleep on her lap, and called for a man who shaved off his 7 locks of hair. Then she began to mistreat him, for his strength had left him. When she said, The Philistines are upon you, Samson, and he awoke from his sleep, he thought he could make good his escape, as he had done time and again, for he did not realize that the Lord had left him. Ehret points our attention to these Bible verses, for they show how the power and vitality of a strong human was lost as soon as they shaved or cut their hair. For Ehret and many of his back-to-naturist peers, the shaving and cutting of one's hair is not only unnatural, but debilitating and unhealthy. From this perspective, the ability to grow one's hair is a sign of cleanliness and superior health. On this page in the book copy, you will see a sketch of Ehret taken after a 40-day fast that shows a great amount of facial and longer head hair. Sex, Part 2, Lesson 24. Motherhood and Eugenics. Motherhood with a mucusless diet before, during, and after pregnancy is a development towards the Madonna-like holy purity principle different from the dangerous so-called ordinary childbirth, with its ever-present risk of life known in our present civilization. If the female body is perfectly clean through this diet, the menstruation disappears. In scriptures, it is called by the significant word purification, which it is in fact. It is clean and no longer polluted by the monthly flow of impure blood and other wastes. This is the ideal condition of an inside purity capable of immaculate conception. When seen in the light of this truth, the entire Madonna mystery is easily understood. Every one of my female patients reported their menses as becoming less and less, then a 2, 3, and 4-month intermission, and finally entirely disappearing. The latter condition was experienced by those who went through a perfect cleansing process by this diet. Headaches, toothaches, vomiting, and all other so-called diseases of pregnancy disappear. This leads to painless childbirth, an ample sufficiency of very sweet milk, babies that never cry, babies who are very differently clean as compared with others, are the wonderful facts I have learned from every woman becoming a mother after having lived on this diet. It is not advisable to start a radical change in diet during pregnancy or while nursing. This should be done at least 2 or 3 months before conception. Eating for 2 with a special diet is unnecessary if the body is clean. Modern babies are overfed, hence these dangerous childbirths. The only reasonable change is to increase the eating of natural sweets such as figs, raisins, dates, grapes, etc. Feeding the baby. If mother's milk is found to be insufficient or bad, do not use plain cow's milk. It should be diluted with at least 1/3 to 1/2 water and sweetened with milk, sugar, or honey. Start feeding the baby as soon as possible with a teaspoon of good fruit juices. Juice from stewed beets is also good, and honey diluted in water between meals. The baby's craving is sweet and proves that fruit sugar is the essence of all dietetics. What is considered a well-fed and healthy-looking baby of average normal weight is in fact pounds of waste or decayed milk. Whether the baby is sick or not, as soon as you commence feeding it fruit juices and stewed mashed fruits, you will learn from the elimination that I am correct. The change must therefore be made very carefully. Babies and children must go through the same cleansing, healing process as do adults. I believe that a baby well nursed by good mother's milk on this diet and without special protein foods will grow wonderfully, and after the weaning period is over, could be raised on apples alone. As stated before, if a change of this kind in the baby's diet is made, they must be healed first, whether sick or not, cleansed from the waste of their latent disease. This is the point that everyone refuses to believe, realize, or understand. Natural sweets are necessary for the growing child for building a strong skeleton. Lime is also important. I learned through the few examples that we had in Europe that the character, the mind in general of the growing child, is greatly and beneficially influenced by this diet. With the progress of the purity of the body, the troubles of raising children from which you can be saved are enormous. No more children's diseases. Thousands of mothers, unconsciously through overeating, practically kill their children before they are born. Here, then, is the only and correct way to fight infantile mortality. There is no higher moral duty of any kind than to produce a perfect being. Eugenics of a diseaseless, superior race. Using a plant as a comparison, motherhood can be said to represent the quality of the soil. Fatherhood represents the quality of the seed of the germ. A relatively poor, almost barren soil, but a good quality of seed produces a fairly good plant, but a defective seed, even though planted in the best soil, will produce nothing. Breeders of animals, especially horse breeders, know that the quality of a thoroughbred father goes through endless generations, even spanning over a chain of indifferent mothers. This is why inheritance of good and bad qualities, tuberculosis for instance, skips a whole generation. As in every aspect of life, this problem is different also, and, of course, is different in the case of a clean body on a natural diet. Medical doctors and naturopaths alike will hardly believe at all in the new principles and arguments which I have brought out and postulated in this work. They reason and argue with the facts and experiences of the filthy body living on the unnatural diet of civilization. You cannot reason about colors with a person born blind. You cannot use the old arguments and the old physiology to refute my statements. Until you have personally experienced on your own body the truth of my teachings, you will have to accept and believe the new ones. Realize, please, what this means. Superior fastings as they were taken by the prophets of old. During a period covering some decades, and even partly today, the science of eugenics believed in the necessity of outside breeding. They consider outside breeding an absolute necessity for animals and the human race, based on the bad results which accrued from the inbreeding of humans. It is nothing less than the problem of the future of the American nation, mixing races or inbreeding. The Jewish race is the answer. It is the only in existence where inbreeding is natural and perfect. Marriage of close relationships fails simply because we have degenerated too far, in comparison with the people of their ancestor Abraham. Outside breeding is a stimulation, with an apparently good result, lasting only for 1 or 2 generations, and then, in general, the family dies out. The European royal family kept their genealogical tree clean, securing good results only so long as they did not live in modern luxury. The families of noblemen are rapidly disappearing because they fail to continue the generation of males. The luxurious diet of today, instead of the old-fashioned simplicity of centuries ago, is to blame. Former generations lived as farmers, a more natural life. Today they are the typical high livers in modern Sodoms. No wonder an expiring degeneration is the result. Predetermination of sex. What I will endeavor to show here is how to produce a genius, and this will prove at the same time that the predetermination of the sex is based on a higher principle than on the time of conception only. Again and again, diet is everything. Humans are what they eat. Are not all geniuses great men, inventors, the greatest artists of every kind born of poor parentage? Why did the birth of male babies increase during the European War? They will become good and intelligent men. Restriction in diet and restriction in sexual intercourse, that is all. The cleaner the body of both parents, the less frequent the intercourse. The smaller the quantity of good food, the greater the love vibrations become, and with these conditions, the better the chance for a genius, and that is always a boy. The most ideal example of this truth, and it is said to be a historical fact, is this. During the Black Plague centuries ago, a number of young people took refuge together in a house in the neighborhood of Florence, Italy. For weeks they had nothing to eat, and then, of course, only sparsely. They became married and generated the family of the Medici, which produced the greatest statesman, artist, and scientist of every kind known in the history of Western civilization. We know that vitality vibrates through a waste-free body more perfectly than one encumbered with food. This is a superior fast with its indescribable conditions. Yet more difficult of description are love vibrations, when humans ascend to a godlike being, as they must have been in prehistoric times on the divine diet. The magnetic sex emanations become so wonderful that love combined with gluttony appears as a crime. For the young couple to fast on their wedding day is a Jewish religious custom, but it is only a reminder of a hygienic law of that great statesman Moses, to generate geniuses through superior waves of love through the infinite. It is the principle by which the male stock, when living on clean food, has the opportunity to generate a diseaseless superior one. Everyone who travels a little further upwards on the road towards the paradise-like conditions of humans will soon sense this truth. Humans were once a higher, superior kind of being, not a species of the monkey family. We are only a shade of the original humans, caused through our degeneration, but you may yet experience what cannot be described, that this kind of eugenics is the fundamental truth of evolution into heaven on earth. Lesson 24. Footnotes. Number 1. The term eugenics was coined in 1883 along with the adjective eugenic by English scientist Francis Galton, 1822 through 1911. It is an analogy of ethics, physics, etc. from the Greek eugenes, or well-born of good stock or noble race, from eu, good, plus genos, birth. The term is associated with the biosocial movement and philosophy, advocating the improvement of human hereditary traits through promoting higher reproduction of more desired people and traits, and reduced reproduction of less desired people and traits. Propagators tended to believe in the genetic superiority of Nordic, Germanic, and Anglo-Saxon peoples, supported strict immigration and anti-miscegenation laws, and supported forcible sterilization of the poor, disabled, and immoral. Ehret uses the term eugenics to make a philosophical point about the potential for developing an improved race of humans through the mucusless diet healing system. For many modern readers, this term is off-putting due to its historic association with racist and genocidal policies. Of course, Ehret wrote this text well before the climax of the radical eugenic policies in the United States and by Adolf Hitler in Germany. Yet, Ehret's beliefs about a so-called superior race of people are diametrically opposed to the white supremacist mentality that was the foundation of most eugenic programs. Ehret's proposition is that what we identify to be race, which is accepted today as a socially constructed belief system and not a biological fact by most scientists and academics, is a physical expression of the degree to which one's organism is overcome by mucus/toxemias. In other words, the darker you are, the more mucusless you are. This perspective is in line with scientific findings that reveal Homo sapiens to be a tropical, frugivorous, fruit-eating species that has its origins in equatorial Africa. Ehret is not using the term in a bigoted way, insofar as he proudly speaks of his skin becoming darker while doing long fruit fasts. On the other hand, he says that he noticed that his skin became lighter after eating even one piece of bread. Thus, from Ehret's perspective, skin color is not based upon how close an organism lives to the equator, or on the production of melanin, what Ehret refers to as mineral salts, but is based primarily on the amount of uneliminated waste the body contains on the cellular level. In sum, Ehret's use of the word eugenics is quite unique and different from many of his peers. Today, terms such as genetics, natural selection, evolution, etc. may be more politically correct labels to make the kind of points Ehret is espousing. Essentially, it is a survival of the fittest argument, whereby the fittest humans are those that live in accordance with natural laws and eat a mucusless diet. Number 2. This is quite a profound statement by Ehret. In these latter chapters, he tends to reveal some of his more metaphysical and spiritual philosophies. Here, Ehret rejects the notion of Darwinian evolution, that humans evolved from the ape family, and suggests that the origin of humans comes from a higher plane. Perhaps humans degenerated from a source that had no beginning and no ending. Many followers of Ehret also reject the theory of evolution, and have adopted a theory of devolution, whereby humans are actively eating themselves downward deeper into the animal kingdom. For more on these concepts, see Spira Speaks, Dialogues and Essays on the Mucusless Diet Healing System. The enforcement of elimination by physical adjustments. Exercises, sun baths, internal baths, and bathing. Lesson 25. As shown in previous lessons, all physical treatments vibrate or shake the tissues, and thereby stimulate the circulation in one way or another, for the purpose and with the result of loosening and eliminating foreign matters, the cause of all diseases. The human body does this itself, in the most perfect way. As soon as you fast, or as soon as your blood composition has been changed by natural diet. Physical treatments and physical culture can therefore be combined with this diet and fasting to enforce and to hasten the elimination. However, I must advise that extreme care be taken not to exaggerate, especially on bad days, days of strong elimination. If you are tired and you feel bad, then rest and sleep just as much as you can. On the days that you feel good during a fast or strict diet, you may take some physical treatment also, such as exercise, baths, massage, deep breathing, etc. The most natural exercises, and by far the best, are walking, dancing, and singing. The latter is the most natural breathing exercise with the added advantage of loosening by chest vibrations. An excellent exercise, and one that everybody knows, is hiking in the mountains. When climbing hills, you increase your breathing in the most natural way. Your breathing becomes better and more harmoniously than with any system of exercises. The cleaner you become, the more easily you will understand what I teach in Lesson 5, that air and the other ingredients of the forest are food, invisible food. Both hands should be free when walking, so as to permit continually the natural movements. Outdoor garden work is another natural exercise. By taking proper care of your body, you will generate health. The following exercises are suggested for those who desire to keep physically fit. I must remind you again that air is more necessary to life than food. Proper breathing is therefore essential. Do not exercise in a closed, stuffy room. Stand before an open window. Take a deep, full breath with each exercise. Inhale through nose and expel through mouth. Stand before a mirror while exercising, and admire the suppleness and graceful manner in which you perform each movement. Fall in love with yourself if no one else will. Keep the feet about 15 inches apart, stand erect, and use muscular tension. Exercise number 1. Standing erect, hands to the side, clench the fists tightly. Raise arms slowly as high above the head as possible, taking a deep breath. Relax and expel breath. Repeat 5 times. Exercise number 2. Extend arms and ensure that your arms are at your chest level. Grasp hands tightly and pull to the right side, resisting with left hand. Then go through same motion, pulling to the left side. Relax after each motion, expelling breath. Repeat exercise 5 times. Exercise number 3. Grasp the left hand firmly with the right, in front of the body. Resisting with left hand, lift with the right, using full strength while raising the arms high above your head. Take a deep breath on the upward motion and relax before expelling. Repeat with the right hand resisting with the left, 5 times each. Exercise number 4. Clasp hands above the head, allowing them to rest on your head. Bend to the right side, pulling hard, then to the left 5 times, and then alternate first right and then left. Between each movement, take a deep breath and expel when relaxed. This exercise is especially good for stimulating the liver. Exercise number 5. Clasp hands in back of neck, holding all muscles tense. Twist to the right, then to the left 5 times. Now pull to the right and then to the left 5 times. Now pull to the left and then to the right 5 times. Hold your legs rigid, but permit your body to sway. Exercise number 6. Grasp the hands behind the back and without bending the body. Raise arms up as far as possible. Inhale on the upward motion, relax and expel. Repeat 5 times. This exercise is for developing the chest. Exercise number 7. Place your right hand over your right hip, clench left fist, and raise left arm slowly, taking a deep breath. At the same time, bend the body as far to the right as possible. Make it hurt. Relax and expel breath. Repeat with left hand placed on hip, and raise right arm with fist tightly clenched. Repeat each 5 times. Exercise number 8. Grasp firmly in front of breast. All muscles tense and twist to the left. Now twist to the right as far as possible. Do not permit feet to move. Inhale during motion, relax and expel breath. Repeat each exercise 5 times. Exercise number 9. Raise arms above the head as high as possible, even permitting body to bend backwards. Now bend body forwards and without bending the knees, try to touch the floor with your fingers. Exhale breath when relaxed. Repeat this exercise slowly 5 times and gradually increase to 20 times. Do not exhaust yourself in any of the exercises. If the exercises make you feel stiff at first, it is a sure sign that you needed them, and that they are doing you good. The soreness will soon wear off if you continue the exercises persistently. You may add other exercises to these, but be sure they have the deep breathing. Play your favorite music when exercising. Any snappy march piece will do. The vibrations from the music are wonderful. It is preferable to exercise the first thing in the morning, immediately upon arising. If clothing is worn, it should be loose. Start with a few exercises at first, and then increase gradually. Above all things, do not consider it a duty, but put fun into them. Dancing alone and bending movements to the accompaniment of music will prove very beneficial. Sun baths. Whenever you have an opportunity of doing so, take a sun bath. In the beginning, do not exceed 20 to 30 minutes and keep the head covered. On bad days, days of great elimination, stay cool. The cleaner you become, the more you will enjoy the sun bath and the longer you will remain. You will also find that you can stand it much warmer. A short cool shower or cool rub with a towel dampened in cold water immediately after the sun bath is good. The sun bath is an excellent invisible waste eliminator, and it rejuvenates the skin, causing it to become silk-like and coloring it a natural brown. Civilized men and women of our race show by their white skin that they are sick from birth on. They inherit the mucus white blood corpuscles, the sign of death. As all of the clothing should be removed during a sun bath, a small enclosure just long enough to lie in should be built in your backyard or even on the roof, away from prying, inquisitive eyes. The clothing of civilization has made it impossible for humans to secure their proper quota of the life-giving power of fresh air and sunshine, so essential to health and happiness. The direct rays of the sun on the naked body supply the electricity, energy, and vitality to the human storage battery, renewing it in vigor, strength, and virility. Internal baths. During the transition period, even though you have regular bowel movements, it is advisable to wash out the lower colon. The sticky waste, slimy mucus, and various poisons, which nature is attempting to eject, should be helped along as much as possible. A small bulb infant syringe can be used after the regular bowel movement, but for a thorough cleansing, 2 to 3 quarts of water should be used. Try to have a natural bowel movement before injecting the water. The body should be in a reclining position, lying on the right side. The syringe must not be higher than 3 or 4 feet above the patient. Water should be warm, not hot, and it should be tested on your elbow. Should any discomfort be felt, stop the flow until the discomfort passes, as the entire 2 or 3 quarts should be retained at one time. If the cramp or pain becomes too great, allow the water to pass from the colon and repeat the operation. The water should remain in the intestines for about 15 or 20 minutes, or as long as it is comfortable. While still lying on your side, gently massage the colon in an upward motion. Then lie on the back with the knees drawn up and massage from right side of body to left. Now turn over, lying on the left side, and massage the left side with a downward motion. You should now be ready for ejecting the water. The best time to take an enema is just before retiring. Bathing. Authorities differ on bathing almost as widely as they do on diet. The Mucusless diet healing system will produce the skin you love to touch, through clean blood supply and without the aid of cosmetics, lotions, and cold creams. It is not necessary to take a daily hot bath with soap and water under ordinary conditions. The morning cold shower during the entire year, without any consideration of weather conditions, is also inadvisable. There is no need to deliberately subject the body to an extreme shock, and in a number of cases more harm than good may result. Needless to state, the skin must be kept clean so the pores may be permitted to properly function, and this can be accomplished by the following method. Place a basin of cool water before you. Dip the hands in the basin and, starting with the face, rub briskly. Wet the hands again and apply to the neck and shoulders. Next, rub the chest and stomach. Next the arms and then the back. And last, the legs and feet. Put the feet right into the basin if you care to. Keep moistening the hands as needed, but there is no necessity for throwing any quantity of water on the body. To dry off, rub with the bare hands for 5 minutes, if possible, until the body is all aglow, or wipe with a towel. This should be done upon arising immediately after you have taken your exercises. The results will surprise you. If you prefer a tub bath, then allow about 1 inch of cold water to run into the tub. Sit in it with knees drawn up, and follow the same rule of rubbing and massage as outlined above. Remember that the air bath is just as essential as the water bath. A few minutes each day spent before an open window, upon arising and just before retiring, when all clothes are removed, massaging the body, help the skin to retain its natural functioning qualities. Always bear in mind that extremes of any kind are harmful. This applies to exercise, bathing, and sleeping, as well as extremes in eating. Even extreme joy and happiness has been known to kill, just as readily as extreme anger, hate, and worry. Therefore, avoid extremes of all kinds. Lesson 25. Footnotes. Number 1. Ehret does not advocate excessive exercise for the purposes of loosening and eliminating waste. Historically, there have been various therapies that use intensive shaking and massage as a primary means to loosen waste. For Ehret, rational and natural physical activity is best, and excessive exercise and massage should be avoided. Number 2. Practicing the science of breath or rational forms of yoga go hand in hand with the mucusless diet. Number 3. Feel free to listen to something other than marches if you are moved to do so. Historically, marches became one of the most popular forms of music around the world throughout the 1800s and early 1900s. Before the advent of phonograph records, if people wanted to hear music, they had to either make it themselves or see it performed live. The military band craze of the 1800s is even partly responsible for the marching bands that still play a visible role in school and university music programs. With that said, Ehret was a man of his times, and the prospect of exercising to a phonograph record was innovative and exciting. Number 4. The power of sunbathing to aid the body in cleansing must not be underestimated. It is recommended to not use sun-blocking lotions which terribly constipate the pores. As with all aspects of the diet, be sure to transition into longer periods in the sun. The cleaner you become, the easier it will be to safely and naturally lavish in the hot sun for long periods of time. Number 5. 2 or 3 quarts of water is the amount that fits in most standard enema bags. Many modern-day mucusless diet practitioners use lemon juice and distilled water enemas regularly. For more details about doing enemas, see the section on lemon juice enemas in Spira Speaks, Dialogues and Essays on the Mucusless Diet Healing System. Number 6. There are different schools of thought about what is best to lie on. For a more detailed discussion about this, see the lemon enema section in Spira Speaks, Dialogues and Essays on the Mucusless Diet Healing System. Number 7. A good rule of thumb is to not put anything on your skin that you would not be prepared to eat. Soap, makeup, lotions, deodorant, etc. all enter your body through your pores. It is recommended to find soaps, etc. made with the most natural ingredients. Many supermarkets now carry natural hygiene products in their organic or natural food section. It is strongly recommended that you avoid using standard deodorants, which terribly clog up the pores of your underarms. Armpit odor comes from one of 2 sources. Number 1, the stench of internal wastes, or 2, bacteria tucked away in the outside of your pits. The former source radically decreases as you cleanse your insides of putrid waste. For the latter, I found lemon juice underarm air baths to be the greatest way to safely eliminate foul odor from the outside of the body. Juice 1 lemon, then take a clean cloth or paper towel. All natural with no inks is preferable, and sop up some of the juice. Then apply it to your underarms one at a time. Afterwards, raise your arms toward the sky for several minutes and let the lemon juice air dry. Letting the oxygen dry the juice helps to eliminate all odor-causing agents. This method can be much cheaper and less harmful than using store-bought deodorants or antiperspirants. Many mucusless diet practitioners buy lemons and other items in bulk from local grocers or fruit and vegetable wholesalers. Wholesalers often have cash and carry options and will be willing to sell you boxes of fruits and vegetables for the whole family. A message to Ehretists. Dear friends, after careful and intelligent study of the foregoing lessons, you now know that disease consists of an unknown, decayed, and fermented mass of matter in the human body, decades old, especially in the intestines and colon. You likewise know how unwise and ignorant it is to think that knowing what to eat is, alone, a complete diet of healing. None of the recognized authorities know the tremendous importance of a thorough and deep cleansing of the human cesspool. All are more or less fooled by nature when they advise eating of fruits with stomach and intestines clogged up by mucus and decomposed protein foods, eaten from childhood onwards right into adulthood and beyond. You have been taught the result. Should these poisons, cyanide of potassium, be dissolved too rapidly and permitted to enter the circulation, severe sensations, even death may occur, and humans' natural food, oranges, grapes, dates, etc., are blamed. My teachings clearly prove that this hitherto unexplained ignorance regarding fruit diet is the stumbling block for all other food research experts who have made personal experimental tests. I have heard the same cry thousands of times, and even from young and supposedly healthy persons, I became weak, and all experts, with the exception of me, say, yes, you require more protein, at least eat nuts. During my personal test involving this same problem, I tried to overcome this stumbling block hundreds of times. After a 2-year cure in Italy of Bright's disease with consumptive tendency, by fasting and strict living on a mucusless diet, I ate 2 pounds of the sweetest grapes and drank half a gallon of fresh, sweet grape juice, made from the best and most wonderful grapes grown there. Almost immediately, I felt as though I were going to die. A terrible sensation overcame me, palpitation of the heart, extreme dizziness which forced me to lie down, and I was seized with severe pains in the stomach and intestines. After 10 minutes, the great event occurred. A mucus-foaming diarrhea and vomiting of grape juice, mixed with acid-smelling mucus, and then the greatest event of all. I felt so wonderfully well and strong that I at once performed the knee-bending and arm-stretching exercises 326 times consecutively. All obstructions had been removed. For the first time in history, I have shown what humans were when they lived without fired foods. During the prehistoric times called paradise, eating fruits, the bread of heaven. For the first time in human history, this demon in the tragedy of human life has been shown, and how they can and must be eliminated, before men and women can again ascend to a paradisiacal health, happiness, immunity from disease, and God-like being. If the Garden of Eden, heaven on earth, ever existed, it must have been a fruit orchard. For thousands of years, through wrong civilization, humans have been tricked into unconscious suicide, reduced to slavery, to produce wrong food, earning their bread by the sweat of their brow. Unnatural foods cause sickness and death. Peace on earth, happiness and righteousness, as yet remain a foolish dream. During thousands of years, God, paradise, heaven, sin, devil, hell, seldom found an interpretation that a clear, reasoning mind would willingly accept. The average unfortunate fellowman thinks of God as a good and forgiving Father who will allow him to enter paradise in another world, unpunished for any violations of His laws in nature. I have proven for the first time in history that the diet of paradise is not only possible, good enough for degenerate humankind such as we now are, but that it is the unconditional necessity and the first step to real salvation and redemption from the misery of life, that it is a needed key to the lost paradise where disease, worry, and sorrow, hate, fight, and murder were unknown, and where there was no death, from unnatural causes at least. We are what we eat is a philosopher's greatest and truest statement. We must now see why civilization, all religion, all philosophy, with their tremendous sacrifice of work, time, money, and energy, is and has been part guesswork. The magic formula for heaven on earth of the paradise must read like this. Eat your way into paradise physically, but you cannot pass the gate watched over by the angel with the flaming sword until you have gone through purgatory, cleansing fire, of fasting and diet of healing, a cleansing, physiological, purifying, by the flame of life in your own body. For thousands of years, no one has escaped the struggle of death caused by an unnatural life, and you will have to face it someday. But you, I, and others who have learned the greatest and most important truth of life are the only ones in existence today who are, in fact, and not by mind only, out of the road of darkness and unconscious suicide, and into the light of the new civilization. The light of a physical regeneration is the foundation of mental and spiritual revelation-like progress to the light of a superior, that is to say, a spiritual world. This book represents an outline of the serious nature of my work, and it also appeals to you for help in carrying it through, as the greatest deed you can perform, upon which depends not only your future destiny, but that of a suffering, unhappy humankind, on the verge of physical and mental collapse. Arnold Ehret. About Professor Spira. In 2002, Professor Spira was a 280-pound former high school football player, suffering from multiple ailments such as daily migraine headaches, allergies, regular bouts of bronchitis, sleep apnea, persistent heartburn, etc. After having lost his mother to a terrible string of chronic illnesses when he was in the 6th grade, he grew up assuming that he was genetically destined to be sick his whole life. While studying jazz trombone performance at the University of Cincinnati's College Conservatory of Music, he met a jazz drummer named Willie Smart, a.k.a. Brother Air, who told him about Arnold Ehret's Mucusless diet healing system. Within 6 months of reading the book, Spira lost 110 pounds and overcame all of his major ailments. He was able to throw away his CPAP unit, an oxygen mask that treats sleep apnea, and the medications he'd taken since childhood. Since his transformation, Spira has helped and inspired numerous people to use the mucusless diet to overcome their illnesses through his writings, music, and one-on-one consultations. Spira is a professional jazz trombonist, educator, and author. He holds an M.M. in jazz trombone performance, an M.A. in African American and African Studies, and is a Ph.D. candidate in ethnomusicology at The Ohio State University. He is also the co-leader of an all-vegetarian and Ehret jazz group entitled the Breatharian Ensemble, whose members are dedicated to inspiring their listeners to pursue what they call physiological liberation. In 2013, Spira published his first book about the mucusless diet, entitled Spira Speaks, Dialogues and Essays on the Mucusless Diet Healing System. He is the webmaster of www.mucusfreelife.com. This has been Professor Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet Healing System, annotated, revised, and edited by Professor Spira. Written by Professor Arnold Ehret, annotated, revised, and edited by Professor Spira. Narrated by Justin Fraction. Copyright 2014 by Breath Air Publishing, a Mucus-Free Life LLC company. Production copyright 2015 by Breath Air Publishing, a Mucus-Free Life LLC company. For more information about the works of Professor Arnold Ehret, Professor Spira, and the Mucusless Diet Healing System, visit mucusfreelife.com.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.